Right under our noses, agribusiness has wrought a sweeping revolution in the ways in which animals are kept to produce meat, milk, and eggs. It began in the years before World War II when farmers near large cities began to specialize in the production of chickens to meet the constant demand for eggs and meat. By supplementing the birds' diet with vitamin D, they made it possible for them to be raised indoors without sunlight. The first mass producers were able to turn out large flocks all year round. Large-scale indoor production caught on fast around the urban market centers, but the new methods created a host of problems. Nightmarish scenes began to occur in the crowded, poorly ventilated sheds. Birds pecked others to death and ate their remains. Contagious diseases were rampant, and losses multiplied through the budding industry. The boom in the chicken business attracted the attention of the largest feed and pharmaceutical companies, which put their scientists to work on the problems of mass production. Someone found that losses from pecking and cannibalism could be reduced by burning off the tips of chickens' beaks with a blowtorch. Soon an automatic de-beaking machine was patented, and its use became routine. Richer feeds made for faster gaining birds and a greater number of crops of chickens each year. Foremost of the developments, however, was the discovery that sulfa drugs and antibiotics could be added to feed to help hold down diseases in the dirty, crowded sheds. Chickens themselves were not entirely ready for mass production, and the poultry industry set about looking for a better commercial bird. In 1946, the Great Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company, now A&P, launched the Chicken of Tomorrow contest to find a strain of chicken that could produce a broad-breasted body at low feed cost. Within a few years, poultry breeders had developed the prototype for today's broiler, a chicken raised for meat who grows to a market weight of about 5 pounds in 7 weeks or less. The pre-war ancestor of this bird took twice as long to grow to a market weight of about 3 pounds. The egg industry went to work on engineering their own specialized chicken, the layer hen, who would turn out eggs and more eggs. Today's model lays twice as many eggs per year as did the all-purpose backyard chickens of the 1940s. Egg producers also tried to follow the broiler industry's factory ways, but they were faced with a major problem. Confined hens produced loads of manure each week. Broiler producers had the manure problem with their large flocks too, but the birds were in and out within 12 weeks, and accumulations could be cleaned out after every few flocks. Today it can be years between complete litter changes. Egg producers, however, kept their birds indoors for a year or more, so they needed a means of manure removal that would not disturb the hens or interfere with egg production. Unfortunately for the hens, they found it. Producers discovered that they could confine their chickens in wire mesh cages suspended over a trench to collect droppings. At first they placed hens one to each cage, but when they found that birds were cheaper than wire and buildings, crowded cages became the rule. Although crowding caused the deaths of more hens, this cost was considered acceptable given the increased total egg output. Having reduced chickens to the equivalent of living machinery, entrepreneurs and government scientists began looking about for ways to extend factory technology to other farmed animal species. In the 1960s, they began developing systems for pigs, cattle, and sheep that incorporated the principles of confinement, mass production, and automated feeding, watering, ventilation, and waste removal. The wire cage, which made everything possible for the egg industry, would not work for these heavier, hoofed animals. But slatted floors, rails of metal or concrete spaced slightly apart and built over gutters or holding pits, did much the same job. Now large numbers of animals could be confined indoors and held to rigid production schedules, for the laborious task of providing bedding and mucking out manure had been eliminated. The basics of factory husbandry had been established. Now the job of refining mass production systems and methods fell to husbandry experts, opening up a great new field for them. It opened up, as well, great new markets for the agribusiness companies that could profit from the expanded sales of feed, equipment, drugs, and the other products required by the new capital-intensive technology. Humanity in concern retreated further as animal scientists, funded by these companies and by government, worked out the bugs in the new system.